Hey everyone, David here, product designer at aNewSpring, and in this episode I want to talk about ensuring readable texts, which is all about accessibility again, of course. So it's related to these three guidelines that you see over here. They're all about contrast, which is why I grouped them together. And when I say contrast, it's of course about colors on top of colors. So if you have a text here on the screen and that text is dark, then make sure the background behind it is light. And if you swap that around, that works as well. But that contrast always needs to be there. And if you don't do that, then these users with low vision or users who are colorblind, might not be able to see it or understand what's being portrayed on the page. And also, another interesting one is that you have users in difficult environments. So let's say I'm sitting here behind my PC or laptop and I have a glaring light coming into my screen. I might, have trouble seeing what's on the screen. For those people, having good contrast will actually help as well. It's a bit situational, of course, but it can happen. So these guidelines are really for everyone, basically. And why does it matter? Well, you just gotta have your texts, your icons, and your buttons easy to understand, so that everyone can just make use of them and know what's on the page, which just enhances the overall experience, of course. And then before I go into the platform, I do have a little pro tip. Just simply avoid images of texts. So if you have an image with a lot of text in it or a big, the text is what it's all about, just try to avoid that. It's not the end of the world, but just try to avoid that simply because they're not accessible. That's just what it is. There are some exceptions, of course. If you have a logo with text in it, it's totally fine, or some branding related stuff, don't worry. You can still have those. And then you also have essential design elements, is what they call it. And these are, or for example, some texts that you have in a chart. That's still fine as well. But if you have those, just make sure they're quite easy to read because of the contrast. All right, so let me show you how you can check your contrast online, and let me show you in the platform which colors in the look and feel you need to watch out for, and maybe compare to one another to make sure there's enough contrast. So yeah, let's go. Okay, so I have a little learning journey over here, and the things I want to pay attention to are the texts, how big the texts are as well, so large or small texts, the icons, and the buttons that you have on the page, which I have a bit below here, right, these buttons. What you want to look for is the contrast. So if I see a very dark text on top of a white background, I know that contrast is totally fine. Everyone's gonna see that, it's gonna be great, no worries. The one thing I'm worried about a little bit though are these pink icons, for example, on top of a white background. So that's what I want to check. And you do that by going to a contrast checker. So just Google contrast checker and you will find it right away. So here I have the contrast checker of WCAG, and I have filled in both colors. So the icon is the foreground color, and then the white background is filled in over here at background. And then you can see if I scroll down, the contrast ratio is this much. And then if I scroll down even further, you can see that it's a fill for all of these, including the user interface components, which is what an icon is, right? It's a fill. Now I know for icons, this needs to be a 3, and then I can adjust this slider, which makes it slightly darker every time. And then I get to 3, and you can see that these things are now a pass. If you want to have it for smaller text, for example, for normal texts, it needs to go up to 4.5. And then you get a pass there as well. And if you want to go for AAA, you have to go all the way to 7, and then it's a pass as well. So that's how you check your contrast for your colors, basically. All right, now let me quickly go back to the learning journey and direct your attention to one more thing, and that's buttons. So here I have a button, but also inside an activity, you have multiple buttons, right? You need to make sure that there's enough color between the background of the button and the adjacent color. So this gray color here. So you have the text and the background of the button that need to have enough contrast, but then also the background of the button and their color next to it. So that was one more thing that I quickly wanted to address. And that's it for contrast. All right, so just a quick recap. Make sure that your background colors have a contrast of 4.5 to 1 when it comes to smaller texts. When it comes to larger texts, make sure this is 3 to 1. Do the same thing for interface components, 3 to 1 once again. So buttons, right? And then also the colors that are next to the buttons, the adjacent colors, so to say. And then, of course, try to avoid images that have text in, unless it's part of the branding or an important part of the image itself, like the text you might have in a graph. So yeah, that's that. All right, thanks for watching this episode on contrast. I hope once again everything was clear. If you have any questions, please ask them, or even just other questions related to accessibility, don't hesitate. We're here to help. All good. And yeah, the next episode is going to be about your video content, your audio content, and how to make those more accessible. So yeah, see you there.